Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. I have the honor of having, we're just going to call him Coach. That's what we're going to do. We're going to call him Coach. Mr. Clint in the house. How are you doing, sir?
I'm amazing, dude. I'm amazing. Really appreciate this.
Wonderful, man. So what I like to do with my guests is let them kind of tell their story, and wherever they want to start. They can start at 2, they could start at 46, 56. I don't care. And we'll go from there.
No, it's I've been listening to your podcast since we talked several weeks back, and I knew this was coming. So, Coach Clint, like a lot of people call me that. So, I was a failed athlete, and I was a failed athlete because I put in all the work in the wrong places. I also had the wrong mindset. I believed I'm putting in the work, and I'd look across the court and just didn't make sense why I was losing to the people I was losing to, and then would go into a rage. I remember the last day I threw my tennis racket, mad because I missed. So from the net, I threw it to the back fence. It goes end over end, hits the fence. If my coach was standing on the inside of the fence, it would hit him between the eyes. It's the same high school tennis coach that both my parents had. He calls me up to the net, or calls me up to the fence, and he goes, "If that racket ever leaves your hand again, I'm driving you home, and you're going to tell your dad why you're never playing for me again." And so I'd gone a year in this rage, and in that moment, I never threw the racket again. And so it was an incredible learning lesson for me, because I knew that there is self-control there. I knew there was self-control involved. Mm-hmm. My parents wanted me to prove to them that I was committed. Mm-hmm. And so the only way I could think of was beating my dad out of the house. So my dad was in the restaurant industry, manager, would leave early. And so I would beat him out of the house on a 4-mile run. And I did this for a year. One day, he's in the kitchen. He's like, "I didn't make it today." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm back. And I'm back. I've already taken a shower. I'm good." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And at that point, he found one of the best coaches in the area, worked with that guy for a year, and did not share with him everything that I was doing. And so I could have, looking back now, if I had been a better student, had been honest with the coaches that I had, both my high school coach and Mike, as this private coach, my playing career would have been different. And I'm so thankful for those experiences now, because it's made me the coach I am, and I love coaching. Fast forward. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's there's a lot of similarities there. I played a lot of baseball. I couldn't hit a curve to save my life, but I was such an angry little fuckhead. Like, I could tell you so many stories, like, of just wasted potential, and that really, up until about 36, was my entire life story of just attitude dictating the outwardness, right?
100%.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like my mom, I remember it like it was yesterday. My mom told me, she goes, "You're one of the most talented human beings I've ever met in my life. But until you get hold of your attitude, it will dictate everything you do in your
life." So when I started with Mike, he goes, "Okay, you're going to serve and volley for a year. You see the ball, you hit the ball, you run to the net for 1 year." So I literally marked, it's the first thing I've ever marked on a calendar myself, was a year from that date. I bought a calendar at the mall on the way home. And that was the first thing I ever marked on a calendar. And okay, so when that year was up, it's like, okay, now it's time to win. And that year had kept some of the anger stuff under control because it gave me something else to think about. But when that time was up, it's like I thought it would just be a switch. Okay, boom, there's the date on the calendar. Let's fucking go. And it didn't go. So the attitude, the expectation wasn't managed because I also didn't communicate. Fast forward, played a little bit of college tennis, went into the Marine Corps, and was in reconnaissance. And so I was with some of the amazing dudes in the military. Being in that genetic pool, proved to me that I had the talent. I had the work ethic, I had the drive. And so I was angry in the Marine Corps, knowing that I made it in there, and then looking back at my past and seeing the failures. But going forward from there, it's been such a point of pride going through that and knowing I was meant to go through those transitions.
And what do you coach now?
So I'm a grad assistant tennis coach under the head coach I played for after the Marine Corps. So in my 30s, I played some D3 tennis. I'm in a grad assistant role now, coaching on the side, and then building a mindset business. So the performance mindset is based on youth athletes and bringing their parents into the conversation. And so a lot of sport coaches see their biggest obstacle as parents, and they're also the biggest influence in their kids' lives. And so those two forces, when they're going in the same direction, has some incredible potential.
Because, and I'm not a parent yet, but the number one thing that I see as a parent that concerns me is that ultimately you're not allowing your kids to be who they truly are, but more importantly, you're not wanting them to have any bad things happen to them. And you think that's the right way, but you're actually saving them from any experience of emotion or anything. And it's like one of the things that really frustrates me, not frustrates me anymore, but just alarming to me, is everything that they were mad about me at in high school is the things that they praise me for now. Oh, you're creative, you're outspoken, you're easy to talk to with people, you have a fun personality. Was in high school was sit down, shut up, you talk too much, you have too much energy. But now they're like, oh man, you're the best at this. Like, how is that the thing?
Well, what's the purpose of school?
At this point, I'm very confused. So enlighten me.
No, the purpose of school is to get kids, teenagers, to conform to society. It's to be productive members in society by someone else's standard. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of investing in Airbnbs and being on a podcast is a massive risk to parents of 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know who Mr. Beast is? Do you have any idea who that is?
No,
he's the largest YouTube person in the world. This dude is ridiculous. So he's just on Joe Rogan. I don't know much about him. I've heard some things about him. And he tells a story when he was 8, he started YouTubing, and his mom was out. She's like, this is no, mad at him for 10 years. And now he makes $500 million a year YouTubing. But he doesn't spend any of his money. He only invested back in the business. And he told Joe Rogan, he goes, why? He goes, what the fuck do I need with the money? Because he's just doing what he loves. And he's like, look, dude, when I started, he's like, there's no chance that looked like a career. And now, you know what? Now that you say that out loud, now that you said that, I think that the bigger issue is that as a society or just in general, we have to redefine what careers look like in this new technology age.
100%. 100%. So I was already in the Unlifted community when COVID hit.
Okay.
And so COVID was my fourth year as a high school coach. 2020. So my freshmen, my first year, were graduating, and the season just ends. I was familiar with socializing an idea, and so when we went 2 weeks into flattening the curve, I'm like, this is dumb. This ain't going to be 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're just closing the doors so that they can keep them closed.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into a funk for about a week. And when I say funk, I mean it was pretty bad. And took a step back. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Got on the phone with a couple guys, set up three calls a week. We would just check in with each other. What are you doing? What kind of support do you need? And things took off. 2020 was the best year ever. After that point.
Mm-hmm. I similar got laid off 4 days into COVID and got divorced 6 days later, and then started a podcast 5 days later. So it was like bam, bam, bam. And I had a conversation with myself and I said, you have an opportunity. You can either be the most well-read person on the planet and be in the best shape of your life, or you can not. Which one are you going to choose? And I read 40 books in 40 days, like listening to them.
And that's informed where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
You educated yourself 2 years ago to be going forward from where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And wrapping your head around that in 2019, there's no way to prepare 22-year-olds just out of college. How are you going to start your career when the world is a 180 flip?
Yeah, it's closed.
But if they were taught to critically think, if they're taught to educate themselves, if they were taught communication skills, if they were taught language, then you have the skills regardless of the career. And that's
what I'm defining it now with most of my clients is a recalibration of expectations predicated on a horizon that doesn't yield stress. Okay. And what I mean by that is, if your business and you need it to be successful in 6 months adds unweighted expectations that don't exist. But if you take that and you say in 20 years, this is going to be super successful, well, it changes the entire game.
It does. So how do you take a student who's in scarcity mode now, wants to be creative, needs their business to yield?
You can agree. Two things. You cannot create from victimhood or scarcity. It does not exist. And so your need to write your vision during that time doesn't exist, because understanding that your vision is only a representation of how you view your past self.
Yeah.
So your goals are meaningless also. So what I do is I live my life off of a plateau system. Is give me a short-term goal that we can get to, where we can get you out of scarcity mode and victimhood. Let's stand on top of that platform, and then let's write goals from there. Right? That's the goal. And so ultimately understanding that, let's say that you need your business to be successful in 6 months. Well, you've already failed, because that's ridiculous. So go get another job, or go get something that at least gives you momentum, and then be building this on the side. Or go all in on that, but don't give me any excuses why you're not working at 9 o'clock at night. Like, you know what my joke with young kids is? Do you want to know how far you got to fall if shit goes sideways? From the couch to the floor. That's it. Do you know how far a 50-year-old has to fall? With 3 kids, a mortgage, trucks? A long way. That's why they're not as adverse to risk. But then you look at my young friends that I know who are 24 years old and have 1,200 units in apartments they bought. It's because they just don't know any better. They're just dumb enough to be successful. Right. And so we have to understand that we have to almost suspend reality sometimes. And what I call, this is my thing, is messy action. Doesn't need to be perfect. Needs to be a little bit awkward. You need to work a little too much. You need to work out a little too much. Do you want to know why I do 75 hard a lot? It has nothing to do with the actual concept of it. It's that it keeps me focused.
Okay.
I have so much going on. If I don't have that rigid schedule, then I'll lean, even as committed as I am to my mission, I'll cut corners.
How did you find 75 hard the first time?
It was towards the end of the year. It was like September. And I said to myself, what can I do for the rest of the year to take myself to the next level? And I was like, you know what if I try this? And so I made a commitment when I got sober that I would never not complete something that I started. And so I said, when I do this, I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to snow, no water. I'm doing it no matter what. Nobody's getting my fucking way. Like, I'm aggressive about something when I started because I failed myself so many times. And so what I realized when I got, you know what I did? Because I'm a fucking crazy person. I went 150 days straight.
Oh, right.
Instead of 75. And you know what I realized when I got done? My default setting to my habits are savage now. So like now I can never go back. And so it's like now we're like the standard of what's acceptable for me in my performance in the day is so much higher than it ever was. And so you're creating this mechanism where I live everything off of a lifestyle. So like, look, this is where I will get aggressive and joke with PE coaches and coaches in general, is that I try to tell every grown adult that we're not in PE class anymore. I don't give a fuck how much you can bench, okay? But what I care about is this. I'm a healthy person that works out every day, and works towards my health. So if that's the scenario, then it doesn't matter what activity I do as long as I'm moving in that direction. And it changes everything. It doesn't allow external forces to dictate where I show up in this place.
That's amazing. One of the reasons I was really excited to talk to you, and I don't remember which first podcast it was after the introduction was made, but you talked about identity. And so some people having money, stories, and identity. And like hearing you say, no, I got one mode, it's savage. If I start something, I don't quit it. That is incredibly powerful identity pieces.
When you're an alcoholic for 18 years and you start and stop 90 bajillion things, I'm going to do this. You know what I said to myself, and I've never shared this story with anybody. I said to myself for years when I wanted to get into investing, I don't understand. How do you not see my vision? And how do you not invest in me? Because you know what people don't invest with? Fucking words. They invest in action, consistency. And I told myself that I would be the most consistent, because you know what consistency does? Consistency doesn't give anybody any chance to call it out. Because consistency is there in your face every fucking day. And how are you going to fuck with that? You can't. There's no chance that somebody's going to be able to listen to all my podcast episodes. If you do, thank you so much. But what they tell me on a regular basis is, man, you are the most consistent son of a bitch I've ever met in my life. And I realize that the consistency part can overcome almost everything. Because every day is a new opportunity. Like, dude, true story. Not like I actually lost the money, but I lost $60,000 in 1 week. Like committed coaching clients that were going to sign up, that went back on their word, like $60,000. Like that's a lot of fucking money. And I thought to myself, like, what's the option here? Show up again tomorrow. Like, Well, because we're in a society as people, we're giving ourselves outs because we're not truly in. We say we're in, but we're not really in. Because I do this exercise with my clients, this very simple exercise. And it's 100 versus 0. It's always 1. If I said to you, Clint, for the next 90 days, what would happen if you went all in on your coaching business? Like all the way the fuck in. You told your wife, you told your kids, you said, listen, for the next 90 days, I'm going to move the needle as far as I can go. And we're going to sign up 10 people and we're going to change everything. But I'm letting everybody know, I've communicated that this is how I'm fucking going. I'm working on Sunday, working on Saturday, working till 9 o'clock. And then I asked them to list out all the things that would be good about that. They'd list them out. And then I say, okay, give me the negative if you went all in. Well, there is none. Okay, well, then you're not really all in.
The negative to going all in is if you fail.
Well, here's the deal. I hope you fail.
Yeah.
I hope you fail because you'll be that much farther along.
Yes. You have something to adjust off of, which is what messy action is.
Exactly. And you know what I read yesterday? This is really fucking great, man. This is like, stop me in my tracks. If you're struggling with imposter syndrome, it means that you surpass your own expectations.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, noodle that one for a minute.
Oh, on Sunday night, did a values exercise with the men's team, and one of their values is perseverance. And one of the kids was asking me if we were going to have practice yesterday when it's kind of cold, and I just replied with the values, perseverance being one of them. And he sends me back, his quote was, perseverance means to me, like, if you're going through hell, why would you stop? You keep going. And so, like, that statement right there was incredibly powerful. And I just replied, like, why the hell are you asking me haven't practiced then? Like, read what you just wrote.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think that helps people regulate one way or the other is remember that whether or not business is going really good or life's going really good or it's going really bad, it's really simple. It's not as great as it seems, and it's not as bad as it seems. It's somewhere in the middle. And when you can realize that, is that as we as coaches, you and I, a lot of my clients think that I'm telling them what to think, but I'm teaching them how to think. And we as a society, if we teach our young people how to think, then we change the entire world. Because that's what we've stricken from everything.
Yes. Because if they know how to think, then we no longer control them. We, parents, society, bosses, I want creative. I want dedicated, determined, creative, hard workers. And if they're told what to do, how to do it, creativity shrinks, control, like their ownership shrinks, and then the hard work and determination, all that other stuff shrink. So teaching someone how to think and giving them control of how to create their own identity, their own values, now they're changing jobs at 40 if they want to. Mm-hmm. Now they're not trapped in.
So there's a report out. There's a report out that millennials will have 17 to 18 jobs before they retire. So if that's the case, then understand that the skill set that you're creating or you're learning, I think one of the bigger issues I have with corporate America is fits in other business sectors, like communication and sales and leadership. Like, it doesn't matter what the fuck you're selling. You can lead people. Like, I always tell this story. It's one of my favorite stories ever. I sold wine forever. like forever. And I have a friend who taught me everything. Like the dude knows so much about wine, he could taste the dirt and tell you what type of wine they're growing. Like that's how ridiculous he is, right? He comes to me, this is years ago. He comes to me and says, look, there's this wine that's coming in. I'm telling you right now, it will be the most like sought after wine in the world for a long time. The winemaker's great, the wine's great, it's off the charts. Okay, great. Comes in, I'm selling it. I'm selling like a case and a half a week at a restaurant, which is unheard of. And I did this for like years. And like I was like number one in Texas that sold this wine. Like I was crushing all these records. And so there's like the whole staff, the owners, all the managers are there, and we're doing a wine tasting. And he stands up and he says, listen, if you really dedicate yourself enough and you really care about what you're doing and you know every aspect of the wine and you taste it like Austin did and you try it and you do all these things and you do all these things, then you can be the best at something. And I stood up and I said, I've never tasted the wine a day in my life. And he tells me to fuck off and walks out of the room. And what I take from that story is he gave me the story, he gave me the reason, and then I created my own story and I sold it. And that wine happened to be Prisoner, which is like one of the number one wines in the world. But at the time, nobody knew it. But all I'm saying is look at your skill set, look at what you provide in this world and know that you don't have to put yourself in a box. And with leverage and technology, we've created something that exists in its own ecosystem because the skills that you're creating here through learning tennis, basketball, like I have a guy, one of my clients, who's running a massive health insurance business who was an ex-college football coach. And he is very upset that he didn't make it farther. Like that's like his dream is to coach in the NFL. And I said, hey, you're still a coach, motherfucker. But it's in business. And the impact that you can do here is more than you could ever do on a Sunday afternoon. And he goes, well, that changes everything. Yeah. And I go, yeah. But remember those skills that you got here set you up for success here.
That's amazing. The first time I was introduced to the idea of a limiting belief, I'd said to the coach, it's like, you know what, I'm not going to try to make an impact because the way I show up, like it's going to happen anyway. Like I show up fully, like, so I'm not going to try, like, it's just going to happen. And I was pretty disgruntled in the job I was in. He goes, you know, that's a limiting belief. What are you talking about, limiting belief? And he says, you believing that you're not going to try, that the impact's just going to happen. Cool. Mm-hmm. There's some good in that statement. He goes, but what would happen if you tried? What would happen if you tried to make an impact? And like, that was a slap in the face. Like, wow. If I tried to make an impact, then there's no telling what that second, third, fourth wave is going to be. Yeah. Like that. And that's,
see, I actually look at you and I say that in your current, like, look, let's just call it what it is. You're not really blowing the doors off the revenue with the high school coaching. We all know that. All right. God love my friend who buys apartments now, who was a soccer D coach in New York making $6,000 a year. And he was like, I think there's something different I could be doing. Now he's buying $40 million apartments. So I digress. But I look at your business and I go, I think that the business that you could create from this as a consultant to multiple high schools and colleges for sports and athletes program, create a boot camp, could make you multi-million dollars, but also on the back of could be the most impactful thing that you ever do in this community because you're creating future leaders, right? Yes. And it's the same way I look at Dennis. Like Dennis, you left being a principal because you're better served at a higher scale of impact by consulting and teaching teachers to be better. And so it's that second circle of impact that we're creating, right? That matters more And if you serve people and you create the massive impact scale, it's only going to benefit you on the back end when it comes to feeding your family and so on and so on.
You'll get a kick out of this. I was in high school coaching last year. Some stuff happened. We had to make accommodations for COVID. Some people didn't want to go to the weight room, so they used that as an excuse. And so I was just like, fine, tennis team's not going to the weight room. Like, we won't go for the rest of this semester. And like, as I left that meeting, I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm so done. And I heard the done in my head as I'm saying that to myself. Took one breath, and it's like, okay, what am I starting? And so I have a little bit of GI Bill left. I had the connection at UT Dallas, and like pretty lean on my finances. Like, everything's paid off. So you know what? I can be just fine on the GI Bill and grad assistant for a couple of years. The program I'm in is leadership and organizational development with a specialization in consulting. My paper for this class was literally a pitch to a specific program to incorporate parent education, coach education, and athlete mindset with all the tools, the language piece, the values piece, goal setting to connect to process and identity. And so what you just said to me was exactly where my head's at. Not blowing the doors off now, yet I'm building for that second, third, fourth ripple.
Do you have a podcast?
I don't.
Okay. Well, you
I'm
need
going
to
on as many. Okay.
Well, no, you need to start one. So you're going to start one. It's going to think of it as like a tree, and it's where lightning is going to strike.
Okay.
And because it's in think of it from a place of how many amazing sports people you could get on, because they're wanting to. So the number one issue in business is that people make expectations and put things that they expect out of people on them instead of just letting people be who they are. And what I mean by that is, how many people that were highly successful in sports had a mentor that would love to pour into these kids? So it's an easy ask to them. And then you become positioned as the expert, whether or not you are one or not. My favorite fucking quote in the world that I came up with is, either position yourself or you will be positioned. And so what you're doing on a scale literally could change the fucking fabric of society, because it's an easy sell now to go from sports to mindset. Like, it's really simple. Like, you know, our athletes have become our entrepreneurs. Our entrepreneurs have become our athletes. Like, it's kind of like interwoven. And so, you look at Ben Newman. Like, Ben Newman's coaching Alabama, and he's coaching Kansas State. Like, that's kind of where I see you on a scale in the high school to college range, right? But then you're doing offsite consulting with one-on-one people and so on and so on. But it takes one thing, and this is where it gets scary. It doesn't take skill. It takes one simple thing: belief. So a lot of people wait for the confidence to come, and that's why they don't do anything. But what you need first is a commitment. With commitment comes courage, comes capacity, then the confidence comes. And so it's really, to be honest with you, it's a really easy jump for you belief-wise, because it has nothing to do with you personally. It has everything to do with the mission. And so that's what I hope for everybody when they're creating businesses. It's like, the thing has to be bigger than the need to make you money. And when it does that, there's no telling.
Done. I will start one.
Yeah. And it's an interesting concept, because think of it from a business consultant point of view, which I do, is that what parent wouldn't want to pour into their kid to make them a better person? So really, the market cap, the market existence of it is non-existent. It's so fucking big, right? And that's the market that you want to be in, right? Now, that being said, what you're going to fight against is your need to help everybody and never help anybody, right? Right. And so what I think is actually important is to make sure that you're tapped in. Sorry, not sorry. tapped into environments where the parents are affluent and wealthy and happy to, they're more, it's not even about them having money. They're more open to the prospect of coaching. Like coaching at its core is still really new. Like I just ran into my grandfather's brother the other day. He asked me what I did. He says, "This is the dumbest shit in the world." He was like, "You do what? Like you coach people? People pay you fucking money to coach them?" He's like, "Coaching?" He's like, "What the fuck is that?" Like he's laughing his ass off. So, but what you're seeing, right? You look at the family offices now, the third generation, the second generation, they're more apt to have a trainer, to have a mindset coach, to have a business consultant. So, it's kind of a perfect storm for you and your business.
When I told my grandfather had a similar reaction when I was getting out of the Marine Corps, and I'm like, "I'm going to coach tennis." And he's like, "What?" And I go, "Pa, I get to dress like this every day. I get to wear comfortable shoes every day." And he's like, "Fuck.
Sounds good.
You got to figure it out." Like, never heard about it again. It was awesome.
I love it. So if people want to find out more about you and they want to find out about what you got going on, how would they do that?
I have 2 Instagram accounts. Coach _Clint_L is me sharing with all the amazing coaches that I've connected with. So it's my friends. I repost everything business wise also on that. That is literally everything that I do. Athlete First is the business that is being built as we speak. And so Athlete _First 1ST. So that's where you can find me.
I love it. Guys, if you like this episode, send it out to a friend, share it with somebody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.